You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi, you're listening to my mom, Georgia Edson, on iCannabisRadio.com.
Hi there. You guys caught me Snapchatting a picture of my co-host for the night. Hang on. This is Roxanne. Does everyone know Roxanne? Yeah, she's a little camera shy, but in just a few minutes, she'll be biting other dogs and barking and snarling. Don't let the littleness, the size fool you. She's a killer. I'm Georgia, and it's Monday night, and it's a little hard to be here tonight. As you guys know, last week we were dark on Monday and Tuesday as we mourned the death of our dear friend Jenny, the host of Sex Pot Radio. And so tonight we're going to do what I said I wasn't going to do before, which is be a little sad. But I really want to talk about drunk driving tonight. It's not a topic I ever thought that I really wanted to discuss, because really, why would we want to discuss drunk driving?
What is there to discuss?
Right. The reality is the discussions need to center around the fact that it still occurs, and that that people need to stop. They need to think through what they're doing. And the statistics that I was reading were staggering. They're staggering statistics. It's amazing. And but I'm going to kind of go back in time a little bit. First of all, we miss Jenny terribly. It's for a while we have a big, huge dry erase board, and for a while Jenny was drawing ridiculous things on our dry erase board, things that I'm not going to mention, things that I can mention. I mean, some of them were pretty funny, but some of them were things that it's a dry erase board for a reason, so you can erase them. But as you guys know, that Jenny was a phenomenal artist in a variety of mediums. Jenny liked to do stuff. Jenny liked to have projects. Jenny liked to have things that she dabbled in so many things. She was a tattoo artist. She made glass for a little while.
Yeah.
She painted. I mean, she was going through a baking phase. And when Jenny did something, she did it wholeheartedly. She jumped in with both feet. And it was always interesting to find out what Jenny had going on, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
And,
most interesting person I know.
She was by far one of the most interesting people. And and I think most people knew a fraction of who Jenny was.
Me. I was a producer, and I didn't even know some of this stuff.
Yeah.
She was a founding member of Moms for Marijuana. I didn't know that.
I think people didn't realize Jenny kept her personal life pretty private. Hang on, I'm going to readjust to get comfortable. But she was the mom of 4 children. She got married young, had 4 kids, has 4 kids, and that was a big part of who she was. One of the things that I want for her kids to know is that she had this wonderful ability to just accept you for whoever you are and kind of whatever you were into or what have you. She really didn't come at people with judgment. Now, if you were disrespectful or mean or wronged somebody or wronged her in any way, she was all about telling you, and very comfortable in that. But the reason why Jenny told you those things is because she didn't believe in having that festering kind of bubbling under the surface issue. She wanted to free herself of that, and she wanted to kind of free you of it. So you had the opportunity to right a wrong or to have a discussion if you guys had a disagreement or what have you. I mean, that's who she was. And she was also really free with I love you and I'm thinking about you. I mean, so many of us would just get a random message where Jenny was just letting you know she was thinking about you. And it was, there's nothing that kind of makes you feel more special than somebody just out of the blue telling you that they think you're special. I mean, that's a really wonderful characteristic. I don't think that I can name many other people who just do that. Who just do that. So tonight we need to talk about drunk driving because I kind of thought that the whole Mothers Against Drunk Driving thing had done the campaign that was good enough. And actually, their campaigns are good enough. It's our rules and laws, and somehow the society that we live in that has got us to the place where drunk driving somehow continues to be okay. And Tim and I were having a conversation before the show about this whole topic, and I don't think that anyone thinks that drunk driving is okay. I don't think anyone says, you've had 5 beers, you're going to get behind the wheel of the car, and they say, screw it, it's okay, it's fine. I don't think anyone thinks that. I really think that people are sort of lazy about it. I think that people are sort of self-absorbed about it. I don't want to leave my car here because then I have to get it tomorrow. I don't want to pay for a cab.
It makes it harder to drink, I think. I mean, unless you're at your house, but if you're at a party, if you're out somewhere, because I listen to Pandora and it still thinks that I'm in Pennsylvania. So it'll say, in Pennsylvania, there's a whole bunch of drunk driving accidents, and they'll actually have these testimonials. They'll be like, well, I just had 1 beer, I'm fine. And it says, 1 beer, any amount of alcohol impairs you. And it's like, well, you're really making it hard to even drink at all anywhere other than your house.
Well, I mean, it takes preparation, and I think that that's what we lack. I know that sometimes my husband and I will go someplace, and he'll be like, "Well, let's call a cab," and I'm like, "No. We don't need to call a cab. I'll just drive because God, and not drunk drive, but I will be the designated driver.
Yeah.
Let me just be clear about that. I will be the designated driver, because God, you have to flag down a cab because so often you call a cab and they say that they'll be right there and some other motherfucker gets that cab from you and I mean,
or you get limo service. Just get a limo, have fun.
Right?
Don't worry about it.
What I've noticed. I work with a lot of people who are in their early 20s and drunk driving to them is a lot more taboo. Just not something that they do. They're really comfortable with getting a limo, getting the blackout bus. They go to Red Rocks and they all rent the bus. Yeah, they all rent the bus. Called? Those 12 or 18 seater party buses or whatever.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. You never have to think about it. You don't worry about parking. You have someone who takes you from door to door. And it's much smarter and much safer. And so there is something about the newer, younger drinkers, legal drinkers, who seem to be, at least in my experience, who seem to be a lot more responsible. Unfortunately, statistics will show us that really there is a significant number of people who are repeat offenders, and it's that percentage that, including the woman that allegedly killed Jenny. She was, I say allegedly because she's not yet been convicted of her crime. She has been charged with vehicular homicide and DUI. This woman had a 2009 DUI conviction. She's 27 years old. So at 23, she had a DUI conviction. And for those of you that aren't real familiar with what happened to Jenny and to Jeremy, is they were driving northbound on I-25 in the HOV lane, and the HOV lane is the high occupancy vehicle lane. It's meant for drivers who are either going to pay more or have more than one person in the car, to allow you to but go faster than the traffic of the regular lanes, and it alleviates the traffic buildup on I-25 and kind of rewards people who have more than one person in the car who are willing to pay for this lane. And it's the northbound and southbound HOV lanes are the same lanes. Just at different times of the day, they're open in different directions. So at this time of the day, they were open the lane was open northbound. And southbound, there's a series of big gates, and there are signs that say HOV lane, big, huge signs that say HOV lane is closed. And then there are at least 5 big gates that close the HOV lane, so there's no confusion. And so in order to be going the wrong way on the HOV lane, and you can't enter from another spot. The only way to get on is from this particular entrance. And so in order to do that, a couple things needed to happen. One is that there was a malfunction of some sort, and the gates attaching to the southbound were not closed, in which case it was a Colorado Department of Transportation issue. Or 2, she maneuvered around or smashed through gates because she was intoxicated. No matter what the rationale is, or how this happened, the result is the fact that she was going the wrong way at an HOV lane, and she hit Jenny and Jeremy head on. Jeremy was able to walk away from the crash. Physically, he is experiencing some pretty significant pain because of bruised ribs. He has a shattered hand that's in a cast, and emotionally, he has lost the love of his life, his soulmate. Jenny was pronounced dead at the hospital at 2:00 on August 31st. My understanding is that the driver of the other car, who, if you notice, I'm purposely not saying her name because I really don't want to talk about vilifying this one person. I want to talk about the fact that I'm not opposed to alcohol, but I'm opposed to people not being responsible in whatever drug they choose to use, whether it be cannabis or alcohol or methamphetamines. I mean, I want us to be talking about holding people accountable for their personal actions. And if you choose to use a substance that alters your brain in such a way that you can't responsibly operate a motor vehicle, then you shouldn't do that. And to me, that's what this is about. And so I don't want to name names, and I don't want to talk specifically about this person. Her information is all over the internet. I mean, her family is going through a grieving process, unlike that of Jenny's family and friends, but they're going to experience a life change as well. The difference is this woman is going to live to see another day, and Jenny lives on in our hearts and our minds and in our actions and in our words. And so when we come back from our first break, we're going to talk about specifically some of the drunk driving statistics in Colorado, what Mothers Against Drunk Drivers propose that we do about it, and we'll talk a little bit about whether or not we think this is a good idea. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. My name is Georgia, and I love Jenny Kush.
Whether you are a commercial grower or cultivate as a hobby, No Dough Urban Garden Supply is Denver's first stop for your hydroponic grow needs. With a wide range of products including House and Garden, Botanicare, and Fox Farm, their knowledgeable staff can get you started on your first garden or help you with your well-established business. No Dough Urban Garden Supply is located in downtown Denver at 1330 27th Street, 4 blocks north of Coors Field near MMD of Colorado. They are open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 303-296-3424 or visit them on the web at www.nodoughurbangardensupply.com.
High up in the Rockies is beautiful Frisco, Colorado. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is a medical marijuana center with compassion for Colorado's medical patients. Looking for great meds grown organically in soil? You've come to the right place. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies is just off I-70 at exit 203. Check them out at the web at www.mmrockies.com. Their ever-changing strain and clone selection is updated on the website daily. When making a trip trip to the mountains, no matter the season, stop by Medical Marijuana of the Rockies. Make sure you say you heard about them on iCannabis Radio. You can call 970-668-MEDS to get more information. Medical Marijuana of the Rockies, your mountain source for meds.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
Pretty. Hi, welcome back. Okay, so I just realized that on camera, I looked like I was playing with my breast, and because we've been talking about Jenny Kush, you probably think that I did that for that reason, but really, I have to tell a quick side story that Jenny would appreciate. So I was making rice the other day, and I went to taste it. It was just done. I went to taste it, and I dropped a grain of rice on my chest, and it fried my chest, and I have a grain of rice size 3rd-degree burn on my upper boob. So I'm not grabbing my chest. I'm trying to hide my embarrassing boob burn. It looks like great.
That's kind of what I thought.
No, I'm a little old to have pimples on my boobs.
Right, that's what I thought too.
Thanks. You should shut the fuck up. So tonight we're talking about drunk driving, and these statistics are staggering and these statistics are heart-wrenching. But I had to pull. The problem is these statistics aren't new. I pulled an article from the Denver Post in 2009. In 2009, that talked about Colorado's drunk driving, and we're by no means the worst in the country statewide statistic-wise. But it said 10,000 busted in state each year for DUI are repeat offenders. Again, this is from 2009. Each year, roughly 10,000 drunken drivers are busted in Colorado for drunk driving again, and during a recent 3-year span, more than 5,000 drunken drivers had at least three prior DUI arrests. Colorado's criminal justice system touches about 31,000 drunk drivers a year, a Denver Post examination of state records found. But the system fails to ensure that those drivers stay off the road after drinking. In fact, 1 in 3 arrested for drunk driving have at least one prior DUI. It's just shocking. Carolyn DeVries of Denver is one of 17 members of a statewide DUI task force that set up to look at ways to attack a problem that has vexed lawmakers, cops, and prosecutors and judges for years, and that potentially places every motorist at risk. DeVries is the victim's representative on the panel. In 2004, she and her husband, Van, lost their 19-year-old daughter, Sonia, in a drunken driving crash. The man who barreled into Sonia's car as she waited at a red light on East Alameda Avenue in South Holly had a blood alcohol level of nearly 3 times the legal limit. He also had 8 prior arrests for drinking and driving. Wow. Now, that's just how many times they got arrested. I mean, I'm going to read you statistics in a little bit that kind of talk about the number of times that you get in a car and the percentage of times that you actually get caught for drunk driving. People that had multiple drunken driving arrests in Colorado aren't unusual, according to a criminal justice record, court files, and extensive data compiled at the request of the Denver Post by both the state court administrator's office and the state's Division of Behavioral Health. Here's some statistics that'll rock you. From 2005 to 2007, an average of 31,000 alleged drunken drivers were arrested each year in Colorado. During the same 3-year span, again, this is 2005 to 2007, an average of 10,835 drunken drivers each year had at least one prior DUI arrest. Among that group were 5,679 Colorado drivers arrested over 3 years for drunken driving who had at least 3 prior offenses, 84 who had been stopped for drunk driving at least 10 times, and 5 with more than 20 prior arrests. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Despite these efforts, I don't know what efforts we're talking about. Apparently we're talking about arrests as efforts. A 2004 law that lowered the threshold of DUI. Hundreds of people are killed and injured in drunken driving crashes each year in Colorado. Statewide, since 2005, at least 224 Colorado drivers have been accused of vehicular homicide and while drunk driving, and more than 1,000 have been charged while injuring others while drunk driving. And Colorado is one of 4 states where the 5th, 6th, or 10th DUI charge is not necessarily a felony. Right? And its laws set no limit on the number of drunken driving charges that an individual can amass in a lifetime. In many other states, a motorist who racks up 3 DUI convictions faces a felony conviction and a prison term. A 2007 effort by state legislators to institute a felony DUI law in Colorado was killed over budget concerns, and the questions themselves bring different responses from different cogs in the system. Some prosecutors advocate tough sentences, while others take a more lenient approach in the hopes that they can coax drivers to get treated, stay sober, and keep their licenses and insurance current. Different judges handle different situations similarly. So, I mean, I don't disagree that someone who's had that many DUI arrests clearly has a problem with alcohol. I mean, again, we've talked a million times that the issue, the way to kind of quickly diagnose whether or not you have a problem is, do you continue to use alcohol despite negative consequences? If you do, it's a problem. Because normally when someone beats their head against the wall and it hurts, you stop hurting yourself. In this case, yourself and others as well. In Denver, prosecutors will not allow a DUI charge to be pleaded down to a non-alcohol charge. A recent study found that just 7% of Colorado drivers who completed alcohol education and treatment were arrested again within 4 years. So that shows that there's definitely a component, a working component to the treatment model. But we need to do a better job, I guess, of getting people to take those treatment options. In courthouses across the state, over and over, the system's inability to stop thousands of drunken drivers from doing it over and over. So there's according to the Division of Behavioral Health, 758 Colorado drivers arrested from 2005 through mid-2008 had at least 6 prior drunk driving offenses. And this gentleman, who we're going to give the example of, was one of them. He, in December of 2008, dude gets in his car, and it was December, and he was wearing jeans, but according to the autopsy report, no shirt, no socks, no shoes, despite the fact that it was the middle of winter. He'd been arrested for drunk driving 7 times in 38 years. He had no driver's license, no insurance when he wheeled onto Interstate 76 and was drunk again. He ended up flipping his car. Someone ran into him because he flipped his car. And at the time of his death, his blood alcohol level was a 0.309. Legal limit in Colorado is 0.08. So that's 4 times the level at which Colorado defines a driver as drunk. And in the range where some people have died of alcohol poisoning. And he was behind the wheel of a car. So he had been in jail for a previous DUI, yet he was able to get his license back. He was arrested in 90, 91, 96, 98, 2000, 2002, 2007. He was arrested in 2000, but the case was dismissed because the arresting officer accidentally scheduled the court appearance on a legal holiday. So he would have been convicted of yet another. And so it is unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that we somehow this somehow continues to happen. Colorado has a thing called The Heat Is On, which is an awareness campaign of drunk driving. They also have sobriety checkpoints. And I mean, they kind of make jokes about this whole The Heat Is On thing, but really it's the idea is to ensure that people realize that, especially during holiday times, Memorial Day, Labor Day, New Year's, Thanksgiving weekends, those kinds of things, that they're going to be doing a lot more of these sobriety checkpoints. In the Memorial Day, so May of 2013, during that weekend, there were 318 DUI arrests in Colorado and 6 fatalities. 6 fatalities. I mean, I think that's a stunning figure. I think it's a stunning figure. And then there were, for this past weekend, Labor Day, the weekend where Jenny was killed, law enforcement. So the Heat Is On campaign for Labor Day isn't just the Labor Day weekend. It's August 16th through September 3rd. That's what they consider the Labor Day Heat Is On enforcement time. During that 2-week span, there were 1,342 people arrested for driving under the influence. 1,342 people. Believe it or not, that's actually down from 2012, where there were 1,508 people arrested for drunk driving during that same period. There were 9 alcohol-related fatalities during the same period. In 2012, there were 13. Ridiculous numbers to me. Absolutely ridiculous numbers. Just heart-wrenching. So it says there are probably plenty of factors that played a role in the reduced numbers. Colorado Department of Transportation spokeswoman Emily Wilfog said, but we'd like to think that this new approach we took this year may have played a role. That change included the state's message about drunk driving. A new tagline, "Drink and don't drive," was used to emphasize the reality that people will drink, but they should use a designated driver, a cab, or mass transit to get them safely home. You know what? No offense. Thanks so much for doing that. I don't think that that's new. I think that people know that they should not drink when they drive. This is not a new, revolutionary kind of thing. A mobile drink and don't drive billboard traveled around Denver and Fort Collins, hitting hot spots like the Rocky Mountain Showdown in Sports Authority Field and the Colorado Rockies game in the Tour de Fat in Fort Collins. The campaign also used an especially unique outreach tool, talking urinal cakes that play a 15-second audio message encouraging male bar patrons to avoid driving while impaired. So when you pee on it, it talks to you and says, "Don't drink and drive." I mean, I guess.
Don't drink and drive when you're what's it called when you have to pee and really bad from drinking? You can't stop peeing. You know what
Drinking.
I mean?
It's called drinking, I think. I don't know.
That's funny.
But I think that those statistics are staggering to me. Again, I'm going to go through. So more than 1,300 people were arrested during the Labor Day, August 16th through September 3rd enforcement period, and 9 alcohol-related fatalities in the same period. Stunning. I mean, these numbers are staggering. On the Colorado Drinking and Driving and Underage Drinking Statistics page from the Century Council organization, they have some 2011 numbers. I'm not super sure why the numbers aren't current, but nonetheless, in Colorado there were 161 alcohol-impaired driving fatalities. That's 36% of all driving fatalities. The under 21 alcohol-impaired driving fatalities, 19% of total driving fatalities involving under 21 alcohol-impaired drivers was 31%. Other interesting statistics that are sad and awful, the percent of alcohol-impaired driving fatalities involving a high blood alcohol, so that they consider high blood alcohol drivers of 0.15 or above. 72% of drunk drivers who killed someone had a blood alcohol level of above 0.15. The percent of drivers in fatal crashes involving repeat offenders, 13% had 0.08 to 0.14, and 87% had higher than 0.15. It gives statistics for younger drivers. 2010 and 2011, 12 to 20-year-old alcohol consumption. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that these numbers are so high. It's kind of crazy that these numbers are similar from year to year, that we're not seeing. I mean, they talk about reduced numbers from 2012 to 2013, but I guess 4 people. 4 fewer people died during that period in 2013. I still think that the fact that 9 people died in a 2-week period of time from drunken drivers is outrageous. is outrageous. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the work that they've done for all of these years. We've all heard about them. We all know that they're mad. But do they have a good message, and what can we learn from it? We'll be right back.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
The Law Office of Edson, Mayton, and Matz provides criminal defense, family law, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running a medical marijuana center, optional premises cultivation operation, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout the state of Colorado. We're focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. WarrenEdson.com. Edson, Mayton, and Matz in Denver, 303-831-8188, and in Aspen, 970-948-7183. WarrenEdson.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Georgia. You're listening to iCannabis Radio. I'm in the studio with Kris and with Sam, and we are talking about drunk driving.
I've never done that. I've never been drunk.
So
it's pretty good.
Good. Don't start.
I can't be drunk. I'm 20.
And well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And again, I want to emphasize that I'm not jumping on this bandwagon that's saying, alcohol is bad, and I mean certainly I don't think that cannabis should be illegal. Obviously, I think that we need to remind people to be really responsible. When you choose to use a substance, great, do that. But when your choice to use that substance interferes with someone else's ability and their personal freedoms, then it's a problem. When you're just messing with yourself, I don't really care. That again, we always talk about personal choice and personal freedoms here. But when you get behind the wheel of a car and you are impaired and aren't able to safely maneuver that vehicle, pretty obvious that your choice.
You're limiting someone else's freedom.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right. That's absolutely right. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is a national organization, as you know, that was started by a mom who lost her child to a drunk driver, and this is on their website, which. Matt, I want you to work on your website a little bit. Mothers Against Drunk Driving. I wasn't super impressed, and I'd like to be. Americans take 233 billion trips in cars each year. Of those, about 1 of every 2,000 trips are taken by those who are driving under the influence of alcohol. Yet almost 1 of every 3 traffic deaths involve drunk driving. So a proportionately tiny amount of bad behavior is one of the major causes of death and injury on our roadways. Every 53 minutes on average, someone is killed in a drunk driving crash. In 2011, there were a total of 9,878 people killed nationwide in drunk driving accidents. Every 90 seconds, someone is injured because of this entirely preventable crime. About one third of the drunk driving problems, arrests, crashes, deaths, and injuries comes from repeat offenders. At any given time, we potentially share the road with 2 million people with 3 or more drunk driving offenses. Taking away their licenses isn't enough. 50 to 75% of them drive anyway. And they believe that offenders need the ignition interlock, where the only way that you can start your car is if you blow into it and you blow under the limit. And they believe that would really reduce the number of drunk driving offenders. 2/3 of the drunk driving problem comes from people who, before they kill or injure themselves or others, have yet to be arrested. That's why we need to support law enforcement to help deter drunk driving through proven solutions like sobriety checkpoints. And I have to say that I think it's an invasion of my privacy to be subjected to a sobriety checkpoint. I know they say that driving is a privilege, not a right. But if I'm not doing anything, then I don't think that I should be interrupted, harassed, or those kinds of things. The interlock device, I know that people who've already been arrested, part of their probationary period or what have you, or the ability to have their license back is contingent upon the interlock system. I'm not so sure that I think that's such a bad idea. But if people want to drive, there's ways around that as well. But maybe it's enough of a deterrent and a reduction. Certainly, people getting arrested, certainly people getting a DUI, something that costs thousands of dollars in time and fines and legal action and those kinds of things, getting a lawyer, what have you, isn't enough of a deterrent. And then when you get the interlock, you pay some sort of like rental fee or something. $60 a week for the interlock.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want it, and you're paying for it.
Well, yeah. That's part of. You pay for probation, and you pay for a lot of those kinds of things. But Mothers Against Drunk Driving definitely support those kinds of things. Some other interesting statistics. The Colorado State Patrol Heat Is On campaign gave some traffic figures starting in 1974. This is kind of crazy to me. So in 1974, there were 615 fatalities, traffic fatalities in Colorado. Of that number, 297 were alcohol-related fatalities, and the percentage of overall accidents was so that was about 48% of the traffic fatalities. So jump forward to 2007, which is the most recent year that they have those statistics, and there were 554 fatalities. 199 of those were alcohol related, and the percentage was down to 35.9. So there was a spike in 1981. 1981 recorded the highest number of alcohol-related traffic fatalities in the state's history at 745, and then the low has been 1988 had 497. So we've hovered in that same area. The difference is kind of the percentage of the alcohol-related fatalities of the whole has been reduced. And so that could be a whole bunch of things, but it certainly, to me, isn't because of the penalties. The penalties in different states are really different. Again, as we talked about before, Colorado doesn't have a number that gives you a felony. You can get a whole bunch of them and not have a felony DUI. And so there's state by state prison sentences and penalties for drunk driving. So Colorado, because that's where we are, Colorado, you can get 0 to 12 years if you are convicted of vehicular homicide or vehicular manslaughter, unless it's aggravated, and then can go up to 24 years. You can get usually 4 to 12 years at the Department of Correction with 5 years parole. In Arizona, you get 0 amount of time. In fact, 25 out of 50 states, their jail penalties start with 0 for vehicular homicide. 0 years jail time. With North Dakota being one of the highest, 0 to life in prison. You can go to prison for the rest of your life if you are arrested in North Dakota for drunk driving, and that's definitely one of the harshest penalties. So if you're convicted of vehicular murder, you can go to life in prison. Vehicular manslaughter, a maximum of 10 years and a fine of $10,000. Negligent homicide, a maximum of 5 years and a fine of $5,000. Random state, let's just pick a state. Give me any state. Pennsylvania, of course. And these statistics are all on the Mothers Against Drunk Driving website. 0 to 10 years, homicide by a vehicle while driving under the influence is a second-degree felony, not more than 10 years and not more than $25,000 fine. Kris, pick a state. Montana. I know my alphabet. M-N-O. Nice. Going backwards here. Montana. 0 to 30 years, not more than 30 years, and or a fine of $50,000. Hawaii.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine there'd have a lot there.
Let me tell you, Hawaii, 0 to 10 years in prison, negligent homicide in the first degree, death caused by negligent vehicle operation while DUI is a Class B felony, not more than 10 years and may be fined not more than $25,000. Negligent homicide in the second degree, death caused by negligent vehicle operation is a Class C felony, not more than 5 years and may not be fined more than $10,000. And then the lowest is negligent homicide in the third degree, death caused by simple negligence is a misdemeanor, not more than 1 year or not more than $2,000. So killing someone with your car can be considered a misdemeanor.
Wow. In Hawaii? Mm-hmm. That probably doesn't happen that much.
New York.
I was going to say Oklahoma.
Okay, we'll do Oklahoma in just a second. Let me get to New York.
I've driven
0 to 15 years. Vehicular manslaughter in the second degree is a Class D felony, not more than 7 years, not more than $5,000. Vehicular manslaughter in the first degree with a blood alcohol level of greater than 0.18. My less than and greater than signs. I got backwards. Sorry. Class C felony, not more than 15 years, and not more than $15,000 fine. And then the last one that we'll do is Oklahoma, MNO, 0 to 1 year. Negligent homicide, not more than 1 year in county jail, and or not less than $100 or more than $1,000 fine.
That doesn't seem that bad.
It's really not a big deal.
For Oklahoma.
My guess is that if you got caught selling marijuana,
a little bit,
you would get in a lot more trouble in Oklahoma.
Chair.
Illinois. Someone asked online what Illinois was. Hang on, I'll tell you.
Illinois, yeah.
In the chat room, Illinois. Sorry, going backwards. H-I, Illinois, L. 1 to 28 years aggravated DUI resulting in death is a Class 2 felony in Illinois, not less than 3 years or more than 14 years for the death of one person, or not less than 6 years or more than 28 years for the death of 2 or more persons. So if you kill 7 people, I guess in a car, you could go to jail for 28 years in Illinois, and not of a fine more than $25,000. The offender is required to serve 85% of any term of imprisonment. The court may not sentence the offender to probation unless the court finds that, quote, extraordinary circumstances, end quote, exist requiring probation. Yeah. So really, the terms of drunk driving, I mean, I guess I'm assuming that when you kill someone with your car, that the punishment that you get is a lifelong guilt and horror and nightmares and all of those kinds of things, which I certainly wouldn't wish on anyone. And I'm sure that that's a terrible way to be and to live, but Jenny's not alive anymore because someone got behind the wheel of a car, and we live with that every day. Her 4 children will live with that forever. Her boyfriends will live with that forever. So yeah, it's we really do need to make some pretty significant changes in our attitude. We're going to take another quick break and come back, and we're going to talk a little bit about what realistically is causing people to not do the alternative, not take public transportation, not take a cab, those kinds of things. I'm Georgia, and we'll be right back.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com. Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The National Cannabis Industry Association would like to thank its members who represent the leading professional businesses in America's emerging legal cannabis market. NCIA is the only organization that has unified legitimate cannabis business across the nation to fight for real reform in Washington, D.C. For more information or to make your business a member, visit us online at thecannabisindustry.org.
Hi, welcome back. Little ice water to make the world go round. So we have some things planned here at iCannabis Radio for our girl Jenny Kush. So many of you were able to come out to the Hood Lab last Wednesday night. It was great to see you, Wes. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to see you as always. I'm sorry that the circumstances were so heart-wrenching, but it was great to have a real party. So everyone says, when I die, I want me a party. Want everyone to come and party, right? Jenny Kush got a party.
That's awesome.
Jenny got a fantastic event. I mean, it was it was fun. I mean, I don't know. It was fun. You don't ever say that, but it was fun. It's
you know why?
Why?
I didn't feel, when I talk to people that know Jenny, and I feel like Jenny's there around. You know, her vibe, her aura's, I still feel that. So I just look at the bright side, and you know, I was honored to know the Jenny Kush. That's pretty awesome.
You know, it was great for Jeremy and Jeremy's family who was there. To feel the outpouring of love. Jeremy said that, you know, the people came up to him that he didn't even really know, but they knew Jenny, whether they knew her from the show or they knew her from Facebook. You know, they may not have known her personally, but they knew Jenny Kush. Yeah. And you know, it was great. Jeremy was hugged until he could hug no more.
I was afraid to hug. I didn't want to hurt him. Yeah. I didn't want to let him go.
I know. He was all about it though. He was all about it. Yeah. He was willing to risk the discomfort. Jeremy has bruised ribs, and then the cartilage that attaches to your ribs is detached, and so hugging was rough. Hugging was rough. But you know what? He wanted to do it. And he was happy to do it, and he felt so much better. He felt a lot of joy that night. And we I laughed. I think Jeremy's speech, his eulogy, for lack of a better term, made me laugh harder than I've laughed in weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, really, I mean, it just sounds so ironic, but it was fantastic. And he said, we talked this weekend, and he said, you know, he followed the rules, and the rules were that you had to tell stories, and we were going to laugh until we cried. And he was like, it was easy to tell stories. And he talked about how Jenny loved zombies, and I remember. And the scarier they got, the more they loved it. And he's like, he doesn't really remember a lot of what he said. He did it all off the cuff, and he just it was such an emotional time. But he said, oh, I wish I would have talked about Twilight. I'm like, you did. You talked about how if Twilight made a zombie, that she'd be really pissed. So they better not do that.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, he was so funny and so thought provoking and so thoughtful. And one of the things that I liked so much about what Jeremy said was he knew Jenny. Like, there are people who have been together for years and years and years, and they don't share as much as those two shared. They're not as connected as those two. There can be people that have been married for 20 or 30 years, but if you ask them what their favorite book is, one won't be able to be able to say that to the other. And
I loved watching Jenny and Jeremy producing their show. This is awesome. It just made everyone smile.
Oh my God. Laugh. They called me one night from their show, and I think I said, what did I say on the air? I think I said vajayjay on the air.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that it takes a lot to get me to say something like that, but those two could do it. Two could do it. And so this is the part that I'm probably not going to be able to get through. But I'm really, really proud of Jenny's friends and family and supporters, because there has been a fund that has been started for Jenny's children. She leaves 4 beautiful kids who are going to need things in their lives, like college and those kinds of things. And you can go to iCannabis Radio's Facebook page, and there is a link, and we're going to repost that, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We're going to repost that again. And you can make donations, and this money is going to go straight to the kids. They need it. They are so honored that people care so much. They didn't really know their famous mom. They just knew their regular mom.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty wonderful. Today was the funeral that Jenny's family, her parents, planned, and so they are mourning the loss of their daughter in their own way, and we did so on Wednesday, and it's gosh, I just it was wonderful, and we all kind of shed a tear, but what was amazing was that really we did what Jenny would have liked. There was lots of hugging, lots of laughing, and lots of yelling.
Oh, man.
Just random yelling of Jenny effing Kush.
I did a little bit of yelling.
Good. And at the end of this month, we are going to have a Sexpot Radio grand finale. And we're going to give you a date when Jeremy is ready, but it's going to be one of the last 2 Tuesdays of September, and we'll let you know as soon as it's confirmed. And all of you are going to get to participate. Everyone's going to get to participate who wants to in this grand finale. And Jeremy said, we'll limit people because we don't want a 5-hour show. Mm-hmm. You know what? We can have a 5-hour show if we need to. And then there's going to be some changes on this show, and I'll share that with you at a later date. But we are going to replay some Sexpot as well. Because this place is Jenny Kush, and without her, it feels different, and we're not ready for that feeling to change. Because right now we all have to absorb a little bit of Jenny Kush, because we have to make up for the fact that she is no longer going to be telling us how much she loves us, and so we have to find a way to fill that a little bit, and that's going to take watching some old shows and talking to each other, and all of us being a little bit of Jenny Fucking Kush, and that's the plan. So please, if you can, give to the fund for Jenny's kids. If you can't, we understand if you can't give any money, please just share the link and ask other people to. And just as importantly, please talk about the perils and the horrors of drunk driving. Be the person that says to somebody, "I don't think you should drive," because we talked before the last break that we were gonna talk a little bit about why don't people stop drunk driving, and there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. But the other question is, why don't people stop drunk drivers? Why is it that you see someone walk out of a bar and you don't follow them to their car, or you aren't willing to step in and tell someone that they shouldn't drive? And you could change someone's life, literally change and save someone's life if you just stop someone for a moment, you just offer to call somebody a cab, offer to drive them home and get your friend to drive their car home so that they don't have an excuse of their car's not here. I mean, be that person. Be the person who could save a life. We all wish that someone would have done that for Jenny. So please, 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 don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Don't be worried that that person's going to be mad or yell at you or be rude to you, because it doesn't matter. If you can save their life or the life of an innocent person on the road, you've done a wonderful, incredible thing. On that note, I won't be saying that we have Sex Up Hot Radio tomorrow night. But please listen to the rest of the shows on iCannabis Radio. Hemp Connoisseur on Thursday from 4 to 5. JDR, of course, John Doe Radio, every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. In the Lab next week with Jennifer Murray from Can Labs is on from 3 to 4 p.m. And I'll be back with some excitement next week. I promise you guys are going to like it. So tune in to the show next week at 7. My name is Georgia, and in the name of Jenny Kush, just turn around and hug someone. Bye.